Hello and welcome to another edition of the State Journal Register's High School Football Podcast. I'm your host, Bill Will, filling in for Ryan Mahan this week. Changing the format away from the Central State 8 Conference to the Sangamo Conference and visiting with 17-year Williamsville football coach Aaron Kunz. Williamsville won the Sangamo Conference, and the number 2 seeded Bullets will travel to play number 9 Quincy Notre Dame at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Aaron, thanks for having us.
Hey, thanks for coming.
No problem. And now we need to take a second for our season sponsor, the Orthopedic Center of Illinois.
Blindsided by pain? Orthopedic Center of Illinois Walk-In Clinic is here for all of your orthopedic and sports medicine needs. Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to noon at 1301 South Cokie Mill in Springfield.
Well, Coach Kunz, this is your second time reaching the semifinals. So talk about 2014 and what that experience was like.
Well, in 2014, we were in a kind of what some people would call a quarterfinal jinx. We'd been to the quarterfinals ever since 2010, so it was 5 straight years in the quarterfinals, and we'd lost in some really tough quarterfinal games. So that group was a special group. Some of them, the kids had played since sophomores, and we had a nice mix of seniors, some juniors, and some sophomores that really helped out that year. And they were a really great group, bought-in group. And they were able to, we played Auburn in the quarterfinals to kind of get over that hump. So it was a huge win for our program. And then they went on to win the next week at home against Mount Carmel. And then we went to the state championship game and lost a heartbreaker, a last-second field goal to Wilmington. Lost on a last-second field goal. And but that group was always be special to us, and just a great group of kids. We stay in contact, talk to them. I got 2 of them on my staff, Luke Blyer and Kyle Kent. They're coaching with us this year, so that's fun. So I get to see quite a bit of those kids, especially now in this time.
How much do they talk to these kids, and how much did they really taught them how to use that experience?
Well, they've been great coaches, and I think these kids that looked up to them when they were growing up. So to have them here and coaching, that's a big deal. And keeping youth on your staff, I think, is one of the biggest positives you can do as a coach. My dad told me a long time ago, you're going to get old, and the kids are going to stay young. So you got to keep some young guys on that staff that these kids can relate to, and these kids really enjoy being with Coach Blyer and Coach Kent, so they've been a great addition for us.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe quarterfinals, reaching the quarterfinals, it's probably a good problem to have. I don't know if you felt like maybe you had the monkey back on your back again. It was your 3rd straight quarterfinal appearance until you beat Vandalia.
Yeah, so we since then, we didn't make the quarters in 15 and 16, and 17 and 18 we were back. So in 10 years since 2010, this was our 8th quarterfinal game last week in the 10 years, and we had lost. Out of the 7 before that, we'd lost 6 of them. So it was another kind of a deal. We had to talk about getting over the quarterfinal hump and all that again. And I just relayed to the kids, it's a football game. It's not any different than the second round or the first game or whatever. It's a football game. Many of you guys have been playing in them since you were kindergarten and winning in them since you were kindergarten. So it's just another game. So, and we came out last week and played really good football. We had a little lull in there where we had a couple 4 straight turnovers, but our D held strong, and then our offense really, we were up 21-0 when that happened. So our D gave up 1 touchdown, and then the O had a really good second half.
I'd say I think that was probably the weirdest football game I've seen, where you jump up to a 21-0 lead, but then 4 straight turnovers. How much that was kind of representative of maybe just another high school playoff game.
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, we haven't turned the ball over all year. Connor had thrown 2 interceptions all season until Saturday, and then he threw 2 back-to-back. hadn't fumbled very much, and we fumbled on back-to-back possessions. So it was strange, but you're going to face adversity when you're playing good football teams, and they did some things to cause those turnovers too. So Vandalia did some good things, and they had us reeling a little bit before halftime. And halftime we regrouped and came out and had a really good second half.
So what do you kind of expect out of Quincy Notre Dame? Or do they like to really spread the ball out like you do?
Yeah, they do. They're multi-formation offense. They'll go anywhere from two back to one back to and anywhere from two tight ends to no tight ends. So they run a lot of different things. Their coach is Jack Cornell. He played in the NFL. O-lineman, has a Super Bowl with the Ravens. So you don't see that too often in high school football, but. He's done a great job there. Their program is on the rise. They actually I think have 8 or 9 seniors on the roster, and they start a lot of juniors and some sophomores and a freshman too. So they've got a lot of young talent, and they're big. And they've got a lot of length on the outside. 2 really good DNs that also play tight end for them. Quarterback is very good at throwing and running, and they are pretty balanced. So we're going to have to defend both the pass and the run on Saturday.
I thought one of the things obviously stood out last week against Vandalia, the defense was really swarming. I'm trying to remember Gabe Watkins and Trevor Shue. I remember Trevor Shue, he's not a very big guy, but he had the biggest hit of the game against a tight end that's at least twice as big as he was.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that.
Yeah. Trevor, just speaking on him, he's one of the pound-for-pound hardest hitters we've ever had. He's not afraid of anything, and he just finds the football. And, yeah, I wouldn't want him tackling me, that's for sure. He really gets after it. And Gabe's been great all year. Our D-line's been really phenomenal all year long. So I think we had a lot of pressure last week. Their QB last week, I told him after the game he was one of the toughest kids we've ever played against. Not only his ability to escape, and he made some plays with his legs, but also with just getting up after some of the hits he took. I mean, he took some real shots, and he popped right back up and was ready to go. So really tough kid, but I thought our defense played really well. We gave up a couple big plays here and there, but for as much as they had the ball a lot. They kind of slowed it down, and seemed like they had the ball most of the game. So I thought our kids did real well, and that's one thing we take pride in, is getting 11 hats to the football, and we really work that when we do our team scrimmage in the week. And so Coach Patty's our defensive coordinator. He's doing a great job.
Well, it's interesting talking to Connor McCormick, Noah Sanders, and Stephen Gleason last week, how they just kind of end up fitting into their positions after they got into high school. I mean, how much is that a norm, like figuring out players once they get into high school?
Well, it's the JFL rules that we play with, or there are weight limits on kids that can run the ball. So sometimes you're going to have a really athletic big kid that will play the O-line because he cannot catch or run the football. So that is what the story was with Connor McCormick. When he was in JFL, he was too heavy to be a back. So he played center and defensive end and was really good at those spots. I mean, really good. Made a lot of plays. I mean, did just a great job of on the O-line and the D-line. So when he came, he wanted to be QB, so he started working his freshman year to be our quarterback, and just has put in an enormous amount of time throwing the ball and working on getting faster, and so he's fit in really well. His stats this year are incredible, and he's done a great job. Noah, on the other hand, was the quarterback, and when we moved Connor to quarterback, Noah's went out and played receiver. So it's been a nice fit for them. And Steven was another one that I think when he was in 8th grade, he couldn't run the ball some games, and I think in 8th grade he couldn't, so he had to play O-line in 8th grade too. Now in 7th grade he could run the ball, so he was a monster running the football in 7th grade. So in 8th grade, he was too heavy, played O-line. So we knew he was going to be a really good back too. So
they end up really growing up really versatile. So they kind of learn a different position before they.
Well, playing O-line is the hardest position on the field. I mean, physically, D-line too. It's just so physical every play. So it makes you a lot tougher. So those guys come in and they've played those real physical spots, then they can be physical blocking from the receiver spot or running the football from the quarterback spot. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it helped them all to play these other positions and really learn the game from another vantage point. And now they're doing it somewhere else.
I was kind of laughing, watch Connor run. He runs like he's a linebacker or he's like a defensive end when he has the ball, because he's not very quick. He's not slow, but I mean, he brings a lot of power when he runs.
Well, he's faster than people think, that's for sure. And he played defensive end for us last year. Started at defensive end as a sophomore on a really good varsity team. So, and he was a great defensive end. So you don't have too many guys that go from defensive end to quarterback in a year, but. He'd played the quarterback at the JV level, but we used him varsity level at D end, and he's outran a lot of people this year, and I kind of say we've got a fullback back there that can throw it really well. So he's got the strength and power of a really strong fullback and the speed of a running back, and then he can throw like a great quarterback. So he is a true weapon back there.
Of course, I don't want to leave out Grant Ripert, obviously a big part. He's almost to 3,000. Is that right? I think I counted up. He's about 60 yards away
for career yards. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's been playing a lot of varsity since his sophomore year. He rotated at running back every series, and then his junior year he was our starting. He was our running back full time, and this year back at running back too, and he's a big wrestler. He's been to state in wrestling, and really tough kid. And you've just kind of seen him grow up. In the program. In the sophomore years, he made a lot of plays, but last year he made even more. And then this year, he's just everywhere. I mean, he's running the ball, he's blocking, he's catching the football, and he's been great. Been a great leader this year, and he's just done everything the right way.
Well, I think I find it hard to believe that this is your 17th year as the head coach. You're getting past the halfway point as long as Paul Jenkins was the head coach. He was there for 32 years. What's it been like sticking around for as long as you have so far?
Well, Paul was my father-in-law. He passed away in 11. So we really miss him. He was, or not in 11, in 13, he passed away, and we really miss him. He was my son's best buddy, his grandpa, and he still thinks the world of him, and I still think the world of him. He was a Hall of Famer, won a lot of games, and just was an amazing man. When he passed, we got a lot of emails and texts, and just not only what a great coach he was, but so many people that he was their favorite teacher and things. So when I got hired and when he retired in 2003 and I got hired, it was a great honor to take over for a Hall of Famer and a guy who just loved his community and loved his players and students, and I've just tried to carry that tradition on.
Yeah, what was it like to be the assistant coach and then I guess a son-in-law at the same time?
Well, we got married the summer before I started, so I was never both at the same time. So I was assistant coach, then son-in-law, then head coach. That's the order it went in. But it was he's always so good to me. And he would, once I got the head job, he would talk to me and help me out. And my first year we went 1-8, so he had a lot of notes for me. And but just a great man, great dad, great husband, and great grandfather. So he is missed for sure.
Yeah, did you play against him while you went to New Berlin?
No, actually, when I played at New Berlin, we played in the WAC conference, which was West, and I think Williamsville then was in the MSM is what it was then. It's before the Prairie State came together. So I did not play against him ever. So
Well, of course, I've been getting texts from Dave Kane. He's still somewhere out there, but he said your nickname was Coon Dog.
Coon Dog, yeah.
Do you still go by Coon Dog?
Not as much anymore. My former coaches still call me Coon Dog, yeah. So that started when I was in 6th grade. I had a teacher that said I looked like a coon dog, and it just stuck. And I think in high school that's all I was referred to as. So, but that's all right. It was fun. It was in New Berlin. It seems like everybody has a nickname. Our football coach was Jeff Harris, and if you didn't have a name by the time you started playing, he made sure you had one by the time you were done. So.
Oh, he kept it pretty light at all, or?
Well, I mean, he had a lot of fun with that. I mean, he was a good football coach, very intense, but yeah, he had a lot of fun with his nicknames.
Oh yeah. Then how would you kind of describe this season? And I don't know how much fun it's been with it. It's been a kind of another mixed group, maybe like 2014.
Yeah, I think a big part of our season, and this started the year before. We started doing a book study in the summer, and I think. What we would do with that is we would read a chapter or two in the book during a week of the summer, and then we would come in and break the kids up, freshmen through seniors, and go into different rooms. So they had an equal amount of kids in each room with a different coach, and every week we tried to have the groups be different so our freshmen could get to know the seniors. And this summer we did the Winner's Manual by Jim Tressel, and just basically talks about how being successful in football is so much bigger than what you're doing on the field, and how there's so many aspects to be a good football player, and one of the things that it talked about was a chapter on love, which sounds kind of goofy for football guys to be talking about, but the big take from that, and it's true with this team, is if players truly love each other, they're going to play so hard for each other. They're not playing for themselves or for the wins, or they're playing for each other, and I think that chapter has stood out the most. I mean, there was a lot of good chapters, and I think our kids have done that this year. I think they've been all in for each other. They've been selfless, and they haven't cared about stats or awards or things like that. They've cared about, being together and playing for each other. And I think that's been a big part of our success.
Well, I think Connor's definitely one of those players that stand out as a leader as a junior. So the seniors can really kind of take that in stride.
Yeah, I think no one, as long as people are leading it, you don't have to have a grade. I think leaders can come in any size and form and age, really. And if a kid's going to go out there and work his butt off and be great and even be vocal, if kids are selfless, they're not going to care how old they are, and that's kind of what we have with this group. There's plenty of great leaders in the senior class too, but there's very good leaders in this junior class also.
Well, I think you have a son Seth is now a freshman on the team. I heard he used to always pep talk your team before games. I don't know if he still does that or.
No, he would talk to the team after the game for years. I don't know exactly what age he started doing that. I know 3rd grade he was doing it then, but yeah, that was always a tradition for him. I mean, like I said, he loved his grandpa. He's probably the biggest Bullets fan there is, and so having him on the football team, that's been a new deal. It was fun. It's great to have him at the high school so we can just run into each other, because right now we don't see each other at home very much. So it's nice to have him here, and he's almost almost busier than I am with his schedule. But so yeah, he's been a long time ball boy. This year he started doing our NFHS network, so he wants to be a broadcaster. So he announced the game, or he announced the games. He's done PA for the junior high as he was coming through the junior high, and that's something he wants to do. So that's been cool to listen to him broadcast the games and watch him grow in that in 1 year, and so that's been a lot of fun too.
Yeah, he's starting a lot earlier than I ever did.
Yeah, it's funny when he was even like 10 years old, he would like broadcast games on TV with the with the TV on mute, or he would go to high school games and tape himself broadcasting the games there, and so it's just something he's had a passion for since he was a kid.
Sounds good. Well, hey, I appreciate the time, Aaron, and good luck this Saturday.
All right, thanks guys for coming out.